Hey, welcome everybody to 40 Finance Channel. Talking today about this big growth stock rebound that we've been seeing maybe over the past 7 to 10 days, something like that. It feels like it's been going on forever from my desk because I just felt like in that mid-May time period, prices were coming back down to what I would consider more normal, at least in terms of expectations. And I kind of see in some of the hot popular names, we're taking more and more steps up to the top. And it makes me wonder if we're going to hit some of those February highs that we saw this year. So I thought I'd just poke around and show some examples of stocks that I've seen on the roller coaster scale, including some that I own. And then, for those of you out there, if you want me to look at a stock, happy to do that too. So let's jump right in. Pull up my screen here. Second. And here we go. So I'm going to use Yahoo as always. Whoops. And even if you just took like the QQQ, for example, and I think I did this last time, which is maybe not 100% all growth stocks, but it's got to be close to most of them. And you look at this year to date, and this is only 100 stocks in the QQQ. So 336 for the QQQ back in February. Then on May 12th, we dropped to 316. That wasn't the low of the year. The low of the year was 308, but we are now way above February for the Qs, certainly above the peak that we saw in May. And in terms of stocks that I own that I would consider, sort of overvalued, hype-ish kind of stocks, Palantir, which I do love. I'm not ripping on it. I would just say that there's a lot of hoopla around Palantir, and you can see how you get past the February peak, and it trickled all the way down to 1889. And here in just the last month, it's went from 22 or so dollars up to 27. So it's starting to run up there. I was happy to get several shares of Palantir under or right around $20, I guess you could say. So I was happy with that, and I wouldn't buy it at $27.30, to be honest with you, and I like the stock. Here's another name, NEO. Looking at year-to-date for NEO, their February peak was 62. They dropped as low as 31, and now you're up to $50, which was the highest since March 11th. Let's try to find another high-growth name that I can think of. Ones that I've had in the past that I get a lot of people laughing at me because I sold it, but I still have a plan for Enphase. Enphase peaked, this is year to date, looks like they peaked around January 7th. That was sort of Biden inauguration / solar stocks. What's up, Lion? What's up, DH? They dropped as low as 120, 114 for Enphase. I think I sold at 160, but I had to wait 30 days. I will get back into Enphase. I did not have an opportunity to buy it for tax reasons at 117. And now you're up to 187. And this is a stock with an EPS under $1. They have a lot of good things going for them in the future, I think. I'm excited for them. I'm excited to get back in. I will not do it at 187, especially when you consider that this year, if they're lucky, they'll hit $2 in earnings, $2.70 next year, eventually the bottom. I was about to say eventually the bottom will fall out, not because Enphase isn't doing awesome things. The company itself will be fine, but the hype around the stock at 187. I don't think a lot has changed in their world since March, and they still face chip shortages. They still face waiting for the environmental agreement to go through on the Biden side. So you got time, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. Everybody's laughing because I sold Enphase at 161 to take a tax loss. It was a strategic sale, and now we're at 187, and I'll get some comments here and there about it, which is fine. I think that we all know that the more patient you are with investing, you tend to come up with other opportunities as well. So for me, right now, regardless of the stock, I'm just kind of adding a little bit here or there to cash, kind of squirrel things away. I told you guys that I had a home renovation project going on that is pretty much done and paid for. So now I'm trying to squirrel away some more cash so that I can buy when prices are, to me, maybe not running so hot, I guess as I would say. So I'm going to check in with everybody. Appreciate Lion making sure the chat works. It's always helpful. And Lion is in Canada, Pacific Northwest, heat wave, 115, or 105, 115 with humidity. We are not that bad here in Ohio, but it was hot. Yesterday, my kid is a third grader. I coached the baseball team, and I think the air temperature was only like 84 or something, like the actual temperature. But like Lion was suggesting with the humidity, it was like 101. The air was thick, like the air conditioner on the car. You know how it drips out the bottom. It looks like your car's having an oil leak or something. There's so much condensation. So it is crazy. And if that's in Canada, if Lion is in Canada still right now, then holy cow. You would figure you'd be safe up there. And Ohio people, for example, a lot of them go up to Michigan for the summer vacation season because Michigan, which of course is very similar to Canada, it has low humidity. Still get in the 80s sometimes, but the humidity is almost non-existent, but that's not been the case this year. All right, DH is riding NVIDIA. This is another one. I'm super happy for NVIDIA people, but I'd have to throw it in my bucket of just scorching hot right now. I would say that all reasonable valuations have been exceeded probably for the year. At this point, 2021, I think if they ended the year at $800, that would probably represent a lot of their earnings and a lot of their sales. But as we know, when people start buying stocks, they go up, and NVIDIA is on fire right now. And I love NVIDIA as a company, absolutely love it, but I don't think they're quite growing at the pace of their stock price. Would be my opinion. But, enjoy it. If you got in before this run, what did we have about a month ago? 641. If you bought in the May low, May 14th was 546. One second. There we go. 546 on May 14th, or 569. You definitely had a good run. You rarely see that in stocks that are several $100s. So congratulations to DH if you got in on that. CBYB, thoughts on Visa. Of course, I love Visa. I don't, for as much Visa, since Visa is one of my top positions, I don't look at it all the time because it's a fairly stable stock, minus a pandemic or two. But let's see what we got. Year to date, the low was 193, 206 at 233. So last month, when everything else was going down, you could have got Visa at 220. If you're going to hold it for 5 years, I love Visa. If you want to get super picky, you may want to wait for at least a freaking red day in this market. Everything is green, just green, green, green everywhere. That's not the type of conditions I like to buy in, but I do love the long term for Visa. And I think the secret that most people miss, I'm trying to highlight it here, revenue estimate. Next year will be even better for Visa in terms of growth. So if you're buying it this year and you can get it maybe at least on a small dip or close to 225 or below, you have the added benefit of the fact that this is not the full recovery for Visa by any stretch of the imagination. 2021 is the start of an upward trend, but it's 2022, 12 full months of travel, 12 full months of international travel, 12 full months of business expenses running through credit cards. That's where you're going to see Visa really lay one on the table. So you do have that going for you. And again, it's nickel and diamond, right? 235, what are we at today? I'm talking about 225. That thing's at 233. If you love it and you're going to hold it for 5 years, I just don't see how you can go wrong. I'd say probably the same thing about NVIDIA too, but I would hate to be overcommitted by $100 right on the outset of every share that I purchased on NVIDIA. So I think the long-term bull case is great with NVIDIA too, but that stock looks like it has a lot of opportunity to dip down more so than go back up. All right. Eduardo, Facebook to the moon. I did something on Facebook. I was looking at Facebook here recently, and I believe it's under the Morningstar fair value. And I also believe that analysts are still, saying that it's undervalued. See what they're doing this year. So $13 for their EPS. 35% revenue growth, next year 20%. Forward PE of 28. Oh, this is quarterly. Forward PE of 28. Could be presumed to be a little bit higher, but I agree. I'm not, Facebook, I think, is definitely undervalued. I think some of their undervalue has to do with public perception right now. And it went from, call it 5-6 years ago, it went from like a Silicon Valley darling, couldn't do anything wrong. And now it's this evil privacy villain. And I think that that's held it back, to be honest, on the retail side. But from the stuff that we care about on a stock market channel, which is how's the revenue, how's the earnings, how is the growth projections looking for the next several years, Facebook's picture perfect. It could be certainly in like a stock market class out of college of just like, hey, you want to talk about growth at a reasonable value with an exemplary balance sheet in terms of cash on hand versus debt. Facebook's right there. So I don't think you can go wrong with it. The only risk, of course, is arguably political, and it's arguably antitrust. And I've said before on this channel, in regards to antitrust, I think what some of the loudest people in America expect to happen on antitrust probably won't happen the way that they think it will. I think that there is a misunderstanding of what a monopoly is in terms of business law. And I think that there's a misunderstanding on, how the internet should be interpreted for business purposes. And by the time everything comes through, you might have a couple headlines here and there. But I think you're looking at fines. And I think you're looking at small regulation changes, and it's going to take years for that to come through. And obviously I'm talking about Facebook, Amazon, Google, la-di-da. maybe Apple, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Everyone on the politician side and anti-corporate side bang on Amazon all day long. And guess what? The rest of people in America, arguably 75% of America likes Amazon services, likes to get their stuff in the mail, doesn't mind paying for an Amazon Prime membership. So you just have to be careful that the loudest voice in the room may not be totally representative of what reality is, I guess. All right, sorry for the antitrust rant. DH, Viacom, Discovery, and Baba. Viacom, I was very intrigued by Viacom not even a month ago. And Discovery's in there as well. Here's what I walked away from on Viacom, because I remember it vividly. I did not like the 2-year growth rate. So this year they're projected at 9%. Next year slows a little bit. And these are projections. So to be fair, these projections could go up. And then you see the earnings per share flat. So current year, in fact, is this right? Current year could actually go down, 404 versus 420, and next year barely go up. That's where I bailed on my Viacom analysis. They do have a nice little dividend, so you can maybe factor that in. But I worry about their growth rate. Discovery, see what they're doing in the future. They got a decent projection for, double-digit sales growth this year. That's great. Double digits is good. That automatically qualifies a stock for consideration, in my opinion. But next year's sort of slow, too. Under 5% as it stands right now. Lower EPS, $3.20 last year, $2.79 this year. And then they finally go positive over 2020 in 2022. So they've got, and here's the deal about that. Those are projections. And I guess where I'm going with it is projections is only what we know today, and things can change and those projections can go up. Where the projections stand today, I think that you have a decent shot to buy low on these whenever their low point is. Let's see what Discovery's looking like. Oh, okay. Well, this might be your low point. Here's year to date. Started at 30.60. Today we're at 30.56. The high was 75. I think that was meme stock land though, wasn't it? And now you're dwindling to 30.56, including minus 1% today. So maybe if you think, try and get a feel for the full year. I think 30 is probably, when I look at last year, 30 seems to resonate as, call it fair value considering low projections. If you saw it go, $2 more, $3 more downward, which you would probably need the NASDAQ to go down as well, then maybe, yeah. I would plan on holding for 3 years, though, because the immediate projections are downward. All right, Lion is done for buying. Everything he says about sums up what I did. Bought a little bit during March to April. Mine kind of went like April, May. We'll be loading up cash, 50% of my portfolio. Good for you. When the Fed acknowledges inflation. I'm sort of with Lion on everything he just said. I think that you can't underestimate cash right now for what seems like a potential buying opportunity closer to fall. This summer, though, I was listening to somebody on the radio talk about, growth stocks are back up. When would be the next bad news? Well, outside of a natural disaster, which, God bless us all, we don't see that. And outside of a, obviously a COVID sort of pandemic thing, if you're talking about financial events, the Fed is done for the summer, and they will do something, I believe, in August or September. That doesn't mean interest rates can't go up naturally through the market, but the Fed is, Jerome Powell is probably getting ready to pack his fishing equipment for a couple months, is my guess. And we do have the onset of summer earnings, which is kind of the quiet earnings period, and that would go through maybe mid-July to the first week of August. Every stock is different. I'm looking at Discovery on the other screen. Their earnings date is projected August 3 through August 9. Let me see. Let me just type in Facebook. Facebook's earnings between July 28th and August 2nd. So maybe it's going to be more like July 20 through August 15th, right? So that's a while away. This little onslaught of uptick could be going on for a while. You would have to have a natural event to really spook the market, in my opinion. We'll have to see. When we come back on, I know we're just starting on Monday, but when we come back in next week, it'll be after the 4th of July break, arguably the second half of summer, right? And we'll have to see how that goes. It's also a huge vacation time in America for July, roughly July 1st through July 15th is a big vacation time. So do we have low volume in the market? What would that do to trading? It's hard to tell, to be honest. All right. Thanks for Inmode. That's from Olive Oil. I loved that stock whenever I did it, under 20, under 30. It couldn't have been under 20. Did I do it that long ago? Just a huge run up. No way I did it at that. I think I called it under 50. And so what Inmode does is they make plastic surgery type medical equipment. I think they have a link on here somewhere. Can't get to it. Here we go. So like skin conditioning, laser. You see how they use laser things on the skin? These are their kind of systems that they sell. Anyway, that stock was a laggard back in winter, and everybody was like, hey, all the research I read said, hey, this one has a lot of potential for the future because nobody bought any of that equipment during the pandemic, right? Because nobody was coming in for elective skin procedures, and those laser widget things that they do on your face, like that is normally the type of thing that you have to go for multiple treatments, right? I think they have tattoo removal in there and hair removal as well. But long story short, I think I did something on that one about $30, and that's crazy. Olive, if she bought it that time, then she's at $96.50. I did not get in on it, but I'm glad it made somebody else happy that they do it. And whenever I say something about a stock, you guys know I don't have a subscription newsletter or anything. I'm just telling you what I see. And if you see it too, after you do your own research, then, there's a lot of good ones that I don't have as much money as I have ideas, right? So I just like to read about them, do the fundamental, and share it with everybody and encourage you to read about the ones that I see too. And then if you like them, maybe you get lucky like this. All right. Artifact, what do you think about OTGLY, which I do not know. South America pink sheets, I don't really have an opinion. Development and distribution of video games for personal computers. Wouldn't be able to comment on this one, sorry. Only because I know nothing about it. That's your 1-year chart. Here's your 5-year. Something's gone wrong since August, or the pump and dump is dumped. So I would have to do more research. Unfortunately, I don't know this one very well. All right, Ismail, do you think Amazon is risky expensive at 60x P compared to 30x comps? I do like Amazon. I was touting Amazon hard when it was hovering around $2,900 to $3,100. That's when I bought. As far as today's price, you're close to $3,500. I still think that it has a strong potential for $4,000 this year, and I still believe, to answer your question directly about, how'd you put that at the end? Can they sustain growth? Absolutely. And I think that that's underrated part of what they do. And if you've been watching, particularly CNBC, they've been talking a lot about the prescription medication business for Amazon. That's like a nothing burger on their radar right now. But if they jump heavy into that and find some traction, that could be great. That could be very good news. And so I love it. I'm hoping for 4,000 this year. Anything, even at 3,400, which is where we're at today, I think that there's still upside. And I think over the next 2 to 3 years, it's a no-brainer upside. So that's how I'd put it. And if you're comparing Amazon to like, let's just say, and probably not Google. How about this? Amazon versus Apple, I would take Amazon. Amazon versus Google, I struggled to choose one, and I chose Amazon, but I understand people who chose other ones, right? I think Amazon will outgrow Microsoft. I think in terms of the next 3 years, I think that they will produce better returns. However, the one thing I always say about Microsoft is it very well might be the safest growth stock in the history of man, just because with what they're building with their cloud and just such a well-run company. I think Microsoft, maybe their growth or their stock price appreciation may not be as high as some other candidates, but gee whiz, like, do they even, I mean, the floor on them is so high. The biggest crash of all time in the market as a whole, yeah, it's going to hit Microsoft, but I don't even know if I would worry about it if it did, because you just know it's going to keep cranking out earnings, right? So I'll leave it at that. Stone at current price for Eduardo. I don't know. StoneMor. I have this one. I did not see a STNOE. No, I don't. So if it is this one, I don't know it. Let me try to read about it. Owns and operates funeral homes, if it is this one. It's always hard to tell. Analysis, no analysis. The few people that did check in, you're talking single-digit growth rates. So, yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. Ismail, fantastic channel. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's support. DH, Viacom, Baidu, and Discovery have similar graphs because they went down when Bill Hwang's hedge fund, Arceus, was... good call, DH. Thank you. And I didn't look at Baidu. I think I shared my opinion on Viacom and Discovery about the slowing growth. Let's see on Baidu. You gotta love Baidu's monopoly, I'll tell you that much. Interesting. that they're not having a huge earnings year here. 21% and 15% next year looks pretty good. Also, a fairly substantial EPS growth into next year. Oddly, this year would be negative year over year. P ratio under 10. And forward PE in 20s, which does appear to be a little bit lower than what we've seen, although something beginning in 19, their forward PE dropped under 20 for almost 2 years. So I don't know a ton about Baidu except for the very obvious things that everyone knows about Baidu, that it's, that it's the Google of China. I personally would struggle to not buy Google, as opposed to putting money in Baidu. However, just looking at this, it does look like there could be some undervalue in here. I would be most concerned about, when you think about Google and all their different growth engines, it's really across the map, right? Whether it's cloud business, whether it's the Waymo cars, navigation in general, maps and navigation. You also have the ecosystem of phones, Android phones. They just have so many buttons to push. So I would never compare Baidu to Google as a company as a whole, right? So if you ask me Baidu or Google, because maybe Google's slightly overpriced, I would say close your eyes and invest in Google. That would be my take. Eduardo was talking about STNE, and he has to go. That's the one we looked at. It was funerals. Let me just double check. And he had to leave, but it was this one, financial technology. Makes more sense than funeral homes. Try to squeeze this in. This will be a new one for me. Financial technology solutions to merchants and integrated partners for electronic commerce across in-store, online, and mobile in Brazil. Okay, so Brazilian stock, that's why I have no idea what it is. You've got an EPS of 50 cents, P ratio of 118. You do have some coverage. Growing EPS this year, looks very good. Very strong revenue growth. So I don't know. Without knowing a ton about their company, I like some of the baseline metrics. Forward PE of 60, not back to 2019, 2018 levels, but certainly lower than last year. So I would say dig more in. Let me look at tip ranks. See if they know about STNE. All right, not a lot, but there are 2. 5 months ago, these are pretty old, but you did 5 months ago have this 3-star Tito Labarta, say 114. I would say that these are almost too low, too old, to get excited about. So TSM for life from Sally. I love TSM, and I love the future for TSM. And I think once they start opening factories in America, I expect that to be one of my better 5-year stocks whenever that anniversary comes. So I'm with you. Not to mention bonus dividend in there. Okay, some info on Baba, please. Sorry if you've already discussed. Let's see where Baba is today. Generally, I like it as a value growth play, but I haven't looked at it. So here's 6 months. High in February, just like everybody else. Low was 206. So at 228, I mean, I don't think that's terrible. 8 $8.46 on trailing 12 months. So 8 times, yeah, it's about a 30 trailing PE. This year, so here's the one thing that could be keeping it down. Last year, $10.08 on EPS. This year, $9.77. I assume some of that has to do with whatever fine they got from the Chinese government. The expectation now with BABA is you're buying for fiscal year 2023. Okay, so that's probably July or September of 2023, but your sales growth should still be there. I don't have a problem at all with BABA. I would just say you may not get your, buy as low as you can in 2021 if you want to be profitable by the end of the year, because it could take that long for this one to go back up much higher than it is today, only because this year is less than last year, right? EPS-wise, less than last year. Revenue is up, though, so it's not a bad play. It's easy hold play, absolutely, for sure. Very straightforward show. Thank you, Carla. It's not buying into the hype of all the stocks. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Lion, AT&T. Oh, I don't like these. But I will say one thing about AT&T. That one's just T, right? Yeah. What was the recent headline with this company? They were selling out of something. Is it Verizon? Take-Two. AT&T sold something this year, and I can't remember what it is. I don't like it. I don't like AT&T mostly because I've never seen a company with so many just negative earnings reports in a row. And they nailed one this year, and I almost fell off my rocker. But when you're paying that much dividend, here's your EPS problem. It's always going to be about flat. You're never going to have a huge beat on EPS ever. And then this growth rate on revenue is tough. 1%, 0.1%. I get it. This is better than a bank account, absolutely, for sure. 7% on your money on today's price, way better than a bank account. I guess I just would rather be in other things. Like I'm just not in a mode where I prioritize the level of dividends first. I do like dividends. TSM would be a great example of a stock that's growing and still pays dividends. I also have on the dividend side, none of the major dividend companies, but TJX is a retail stock. They pay a dividend. Molson Coors will institute their dividend, I believe, in fall. Reinstitute, I should say. So, I don't know. I just can't get excited about AT&T. DCF and BABA, it's just over $300. So, Lion, good call on that. They sold Warner Media. That's right. I just think AT&T for the past 3 or 4 years, they need to figure out what their guiding star is. What is their North Star? What are they going to do in a world that is growing so fast? What are they going to be good at? And I'm not sure they've figured it out. I don't know what they're good at anymore, put it that way. Their cell phone network, I think, is recognizable. I don't know what that's worth. And I don't know, can you grow a cell phone network to be something, right? Because we've seen a lot of consolidation in the industry between T-Mobile and Sprint joining each other. You've got Verizon stock has sort of swam at the same levels for a lot of time. Can AT&T turn that into something? I have no idea. All right, cutting their dividend when merger is complete. Merger with Discovery. Okay, so merging with Discovery. That is something that I'd have to think about it. I didn't know they were doing that. But just be careful, I guess. All right. Pratik, hey Geoff, longtime channel supporter. What do you think of Magnite? I'm still in. I was underwater for a while with Magnite. But we have since gotten some news that came out of nowhere, which is Google's not eliminating cookie browsing in their Chrome, and I assume some of their other apps and whatnot. So what that has meant for Magnite, they did the same. Let me see, let me do year to date here. So they had the same drop on May 14th. This is a stock that I purchased in this neighborhood of $25 to lower my cost basis. Then you see this mark here from 29 to 36 is all on the Google announcement. It might be one of these headlines. Here you go. Google's rare surrender on ads risks more antitrust pursuers, and whatever. I just wanted to try to show you what Google was doing, but the short version is they're allowing cookie tracking. So everybody who's in advertising, digital advertising, connected TV advertising, all those things, they just got good news, right? Because their system's more viable with third-party cookie tracking. Magnite had planned out their route around it, as had some others, in particular like Roku TV. They've got a lot of details because they have logged in users. But that's the bump for Magnite. I'm not selling my Magnite for a couple years. I'm going to see what happens with this connected TV world. I think that right this very second, Magnite's probably a better value than Roku. Roku will grow more. Roku will be bigger. But dollar for dollar over the next year or two, I think Magnite is cheaper from a valuation standpoint. So we'll see how it goes. They're all good. Anything connected TV is good. And this Pubmatic is up there as well. I strongly considered that. All right. Hi from Dubai. Good to see ya. Thank you for your help. What broker do you use? Taxable account, I use Ally Invest, ALLY. Not sure if they're international, if they're just America, but I already had like a savings account at Ally. So it was super easy for me to open the stock account too. And I've liked it. Now, keep in mind, I don't do day trading, right? I can have a spread in my time of trades, which is usually like a penny or two that I might give up. But I'm not sure I would say Ally is for day traders, where you're taking like stocks to trade under $1 and you're trying to get out of them like at 98 cents or something like that. I don't know. I can't verify that Ally would be the right choice for you. But if you're long term, I enjoy it. And their high yield savings account, which is obviously pathetic right now, but it's a good connection between a savings account and a trading platform, in my opinion. And we got rockets to the moon for PayPal. PayPal's great. I also got some great Etsy news. Etsy purchased a Brazilian marketplace, a similar Etsy of Brazil, I think. Let's take a look. Latin America, it is, okay. Etsy expands in Latin America by acquiring Brazil's handmade item e-commerce site for $200 million. I don't know anything about this site. However, I like that Etsy's making international growth, right? They have tons of international sellers on their platform. So to pick up a marketplace, even if it's not like a one-to-one profit, even if you can just buy that marketplace and get some learnings of what sells on the marketplace, the user data, all those things, I think it's smart for them to make that acquisition for the long term. So good news for Etsy. All right, guys, I'm gonna run. It was good to see everybody. I should have some new videos out this week. Let me know if there's any stocks that you want to see on the channel. Just leave them in the comments and I'll take a look. And hope you guys are having a great day. Appreciate all your support. We'll see you on the next video.